Dumpster divers rummaging through your garbage and retrieving valuable confidential information about your business? Prying eyes viewing vital company files kept on your computer? Undercover corporate spies stealing your laptops, gaining access to data that are key to the survival of your organization. Sound far-fetched? It's not. These crimes are being perpetrated thousands of times each day, and every business, small or large, is a likely victim. What you're about to learn can help you avoid becoming another statistic and can save you and your business time and money. Hello, I'm Catherine on behalf of Staples. We're here today to raise awareness on a very important issue, identity theft. We want to educate you on some preventative solutions that can assist you in protecting yourself and your business. To understand how important this issue is, we'll hear from secure document expert Frank Abignale, one of the world's most respected authorities on the subjects of forgery, embezzlement, and fraud. Frank's autobiography became the source material for Steven Spielberg's acclaimed movie, Catch Me If You Can. The film tells the story of how, as a teenager, Frank cashed $2.5 million in fraudulent checks. He posed as an airline pilot, an attorney, a college professor, and a pediatrician, successfully conning untold numbers of people and businesses along the way.
Are you a real-life pilot?
I sure am, little lady.
The jump seat is open.
It's been a while since I've done this. Which one's the jump seat again?
Dr. Connors to the ER. Dr. Connors to the ER.
This is irrefutable evidence that the defendant is lying.
Special Agent Hanratty, FBI.
Hello, Carl.
You're gonna get caught.
I have a payroll check here I'd like to cash.
I'm working part-time at the church now. Just tell me how much yours and I'll pay you back.
$1.3 million.
See these people staring at you?
Don't tell me not to fly, I've simply got to. If someone takes a spill, it's me and not you. Don't bring around a cloud of terrain on my parade.
Sir, we're gonna let him get away.
Nobody had a better rain on my Merry Christmas parade.
I'm getting close, huh? You will go to prison.
You're gonna have to catch me.
Eventually, Frank was apprehended and put in jail. After 5 years, he was released on the condition that he would help the federal government, without pay, by teaching and assisting federal law enforcement agencies. Frank has now been associated with the FBI for more than 30 years. He lectures extensively within the agency and trains field agents. More than 14,000 financial institutions, corporations, and law enforcement agencies use his fraud prevention programs. Frank has written 3 books on identity theft and related crimes. He's with us today to explain how you can protect yourself and your business against identity theft.
I've written a book called The Art of the Steal where I discuss this crime. It's one of 3 books I've written on the subject. I've been teaching at the FBI Academy for more than 31 years. Back in 1988, one of my jobs was to talk about crime 10 years down the road, things that we'd be looking at or investigating. Back then, I wrote a memorandum to then Attorney General of the United States telling him that I was very concerned about paper files being moved to electronic files. Under the paper files, I was able to go around to county records and look up individual Social Security numbers, dates of birth, and pertinent information back in 1988, but it was very time-consuming and required a lot of hours of work. If they moved to electronic files, I would be able to do this in the privacy of my home with a laptop in under 30 minutes. Consequently, of course, today, anyone can look up anyone's information in a matter of minutes and find out their name, date of birth, Social Security number, and a great deal of other pertinent information. For example, today, identity theft costs more than $50 billion in losses every year. Back when I wrote the first book about identity theft, there were 750,000 victims of this crime. But of course, back then, only about $5 billion in losses. By the time I had written the second book, there were more than 10 million victims of this crime and losses exceeding more than $50 billion. Today, there's a victim every 4 seconds and becomes one of the most simplistic crimes I've ever witnessed.
Most people don't realize how much sensitive information may be contained in the kind of mail we all receive and discard on a daily basis. With the information our victim just threw away, a thief could easily garnish enough data to steal his identity and tap into every financial resource he possesses. 50% of all small businesses suffered a security breach in the last year. Identity theft crimes cost businesses $52.6 billion in 2004 alone. And did you know that not shredding confidential documents violates new laws enacted in 2003? Our victim's colleague understands that for every security risk, there's a security solution.
The Staples Mailmate Shredder's compact size allows for convenient placement on your desk or anywhere you open mail. It's great for junk mail since it shreds 10 folded sheets of paper and easily cuts through credit cards and CDs. Here's some government information you should know. FACTA requires any business that collects confidential customer or employee information to protect and properly dispose of it. HIPAA creates privacy standards for medical records, medical billing, and patient accounts. Graham-Leach-Bliley Act impacts financial institutions and the sharing of non-public personal information.
You always need to shred the information that you have in your business and in your personal life that comes to you in the mail. So whether you own a simple shredder that you keep in your kitchens where you open your mail and shred it as it comes in, or you're a business who shreds your mail every day, it is important to have a shredder. I've tested over 200 shredders. My problem is that some shredders that cut paper straight can easily be put back together in less than an hour. Some shredders that crisscross cut can be put back together in about 8 to 9 hours. I like micro-cut shredders that turn paper into tiny little pieces of paper that make it literally impossible to be able to put back and read. If you're going to pay the same price for a shredder, then you might as well buy a shredder that works. But in the 15 years that I've dealt with this crime, I still insist that today the most simplest, easiest way to protect yourself is to own a shredder and use it.
These days, most offices have common areas where employees print and fax. Regular trash cans and recycle bins don't safeguard against the improper disposal of confidential information. Inside of these traditional receptacles, anyone could find salaries, names, addresses, customer or client information, social security numbers, and other vital information. A thief could piece the information together and easily steal someone's identity. Fast forward to the informed office manager who replaces the garbage with a micro-cut shredder. Simple and smart.
The Staples Ultra Quiet Heavy Duty Micro-Cut Shredder is the most secure shredder available. It ensures that your confidential data stays confidential. The micro-cut technology turns paper, CDs, and DVDs into confetti-sized bits.
The fact is, there are just two simple ways to protect yourself from identity theft. One is a corporate way, and one is, of course, a personal way. On the corporate side, every company in America, corporations, banks, financial institutions, healthcare providers, county government, city government, state government, needs to ask themselves one question: what am I doing to protect the identity of my customers and my employees? Sometimes when I'm working in a bank, I sit in the drive-in and I notice that every time a car pulls up, the screen lights up. In front of the 17-year-old teller is the customer's social security number, date of birth, signature, wife's signature, Mountain checking, a Mountain wealth account, Mountain private banking account. Why would a 17-year-old bank teller working part-time at the bank need to see all of that information? What is the bank doing to block someone at that level in the bank seeing that information?
Companies of all sizes face the issues of data getting into the wrong hands. You may not be aware of it, but fax machines store a tremendous amount of information that is easily accessible.
Old plain paper fax machines use a replaceable film roll to print out faxes. They leave behind a complete image of whatever you printed on the film. Employment records, medical history, payroll records, everything. These can be read or reproduced. posing a huge security risk. So many businesses are affected by risks like these. The Federal Trade Commission's Identity Theft Hotline receives 5,000 calls a week. The average identity theft victim spends between $500 and $1,200 cleaning up the mess. It can take from months to years to completely resolve the chaos that results from this type of theft. To prevent identity theft from a replaceable film roll fax machine, it's recommended that you use a laser fax machine where the information is not left on the cartridge.
The Brother fax machine delivers fast laser performance and reliability at low operating costs. It helps maintain the confidentiality of incoming faxes by holding them in memory until a password is entered to initiate printing, thus preventing unauthorized personnel from reading confidential or sensitive documents that are left unattended.
Every day we pick up the newspapers and we read about someone losing information. Someone has hacked into a system. Someone has broke into a data file. For recently, we read about a bank in New York that lost 2 million customers' names, social security numbers, and dates of birth that they were being transported by a carrier to a credit bureau. The credit bureau and the carrier say they can't find them, even though they had a tracking number assigned to them. Obviously, someone was paid to steal them. The response, of course, from the financial institution is that we've had no breach of records. The fact is that if I break into a credit card company's center and steal 1 million credit card names, numbers, and expiration dates, the credit card company doesn't go out and cancel 1 million credit cards. It costs about $10 to reinstate a credit card. They're not going to spend $10 million. So they wait for a breach and then they cancel those numbers. But if I steal someone's name, social security number, date of birth, you can't change your name. You can't change your social security number. You can't change your date of birth. The longer I hold on to that information, the more powerful and more expensive it becomes when I go to sell it.
On the road, this person stops in a coffee shop and purchases an airline ticket using her credit card. Watch how the student next to her appears to be writing notes for a class, but actually jots down his neighbor's credit card information, name, address, and frequent flyer number. On the other side of the coffee shop is another businessman with a privacy filter on his laptop. He's keeping what's on his screen to himself. Does your computer screen guard against unauthorized viewership?
Privacy filters make on-screen data visible only to the person directly in front of the monitor, keeping your personal information out of sight of others. Not only does the 3M privacy filter safeguard your information, it also reduces screen glare and increases contrast.
You might go into a hospital and ask the candy striper, the volunteer, what room a patient's in. They hit the computer buttons and tell you instantly, but that candy striper can also tell you their health records. What has the hospital done to keep those records out of the hands of that volunteer at the hospital? Maybe your insurance agent has a little office in the mall. It's just him and a secretary. Of course, he has your social security number, your financials, your children's social security numbers, their driver's license numbers. If in fact that secretary decides to quit and download all those files onto a disk and leave with that disk, the value of that disk would be 5 times greater than the salary that secretary would make over the next 5 years. What has the insurance agent done to keep that information confidential? Tomorrow, General Motors might decide to lay off 20,000 people. The question is, when they lay off the 20,000 employees, how long would it take General Motors to remove their email privileges, pass privileges, phone privileges, building access privileges, card privileges? The answer is about 9 months to write memorandums to that department, and each department will remove that information. That is why it's more important than ever for companies to look into buying identity management software, software that allows companies to block certain information from the eyes of individuals at the company. It is very important today that every company asks themselves, what am I doing to protect the identity of my customers and my employees?
Okay, let me call you right back. All right, bye.
Think about how much vital information is inside laptop computers in all types of offices. Now, watch how easy it is for that information to just walk away. In a matter of seconds, financial information, trade secrets, customer contacts, medical records, and everything else kept on a hard drive can end up in the hands of anyone who walks by. Use a computer lock and the temptation to steal it is eliminated. Remember, a laptop can be easily taken, but you can take precautions to keep your machine out of the wrong hands.
The Kensington MicroSaver computer lock is the industry standard for notebook security. Its patented T-bar lock provides superior strength and theft protection. Its built-in tamper-evident feature detects any unauthorized use. Now it's time to ask Frank some questions. Thank you very much for being here. The information has been fascinating and it's been helpful, I think, to many people that are watching and listening, myself included. What I want to know is, what is one of the best ways I can do to protect myself from identity theft?
Well, I can't overestimate the importance of having a shredder. Everyone should have a shredder, whether you're a business or an individual. Shredders are the simplest, most effective way to protect yourself from this particular crime. As you know, I mentioned earlier, I've written books on this. I've followed it from its inception, and still today, I believe that a shredder is the best answer to this crime. So make sure that if you have a business in your home, you have a business, or you have your own house mail that you receive every day, things that have information about you, no matter how trivial that information be, make sure you shred it. The second thing is to look at monitoring services. Right. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them out there. The key to looking at them is to make sure you ask the two important questions. Do you monitor all three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion? And will you notify me in real time? If they're only monitoring one credit bureau, that's worthless. If they're only notifying you every quarter by letter, they'll be long gone with your information. Right. If they notify you by mail, they've got to write a letter, send it out. That's 3 or 4 days before you receive it. So you want to get a text message, you want to get an email, you want to be notified within 24 hours that someone has attempted to get your identity. And if you have that service, that goes a long way to protecting you from this crime. Okay, so if I were not protecting myself and I became a victim of identity theft, what are the steps that I should take? First step is to make sure that you file a police report with your local police. They'll take it over the phone. But make sure you file that police report. Otherwise, the credit card company may say, well, I don't see any police report about this theft of your identity. The second thing you can do is you can freeze your credit, where the credit bureau for 60 days to 90 days will freeze your credit so that no one can use your credit without your approval. So you can do that. You usually have to renew that every 90 days or so. But once you call one credit bureau and freeze your credit, it freezes it on all three credit bureaus. So that would be the second step. And then the third thing is to make sure you notify your bank to close your local checking account if they've had access to your bank account, and notify the bank that someone has stolen your identity, so to be very careful if anyone enters a bank or calls a bank looking for information pretending to be you. And if someone does steal my identity, what are other things they might try to do with obtaining that information? Well, that's limited only to the criminal's imagination. Today you can steal someone's identity and get a credit card in their name, get a signature loan in their name, buy a car in their name, get a mortgage in their name, get a job in their name, or commit a crime in their name. So there are lots of things one can do with your identity, and that's why it's very important to protect it. Okay. If, for example, a business, as opposed to an individual, is victimized, what steps should they take to protect themselves? Basically the same steps. They have to file a police report. They should notify their bank that someone has gotten the business company's information. Follow those basic same steps, whether you be an individual or a business. Okay. And what is the best way, since we're talking about businesses, for them to educate their employees on this particular issue? Well, education is extremely important, and one of the reasons I'm working with Staples is they know the importance of education. So what they want to do is go out and educate both their customers and non-customers alike to some of their risks, because I have found in my 30-year career that if you explain to people what their risks are, and then you show them simple solutions that can help solve those risks, they will take those steps to protect themselves. But they need the tools to do that, and the tools are education, educating them about what their risks are. And so I think Staples brings great value out to their customers and non-customers by being able to take a step forward and saying, here's the problems, here's how you solve the problems, here's how you protect yourself, So as I've always said, education is the key.
I'd like to thank Frank Abignale for his incomparable expertise and his tremendous efforts to combat security crimes. Last year in America, 50% of all small businesses had some sort of security breach, costing them over $52 billion. Protect yourself and your business from theft and liability. Visit stapleslink.com for one-stop shopping for these and other security solutions. We hope you found this information valuable. Thanks for joining us.